Once you see the world for what it is, there's no way back. Terence McKenna. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. You ever get that feeling like something's off? Like everyone around you is acting, smiling, moving, but it's not real. Like there's some kind of invisible fog over everything. You talk to people, but it's like they're not really there. And sometimes, neither are you. You go to work, you come back, you scroll your feed, you try to be better, you follow rules you didn't write. And deep down, a quiet scream, a knowing, a pressure in your chest that says, this isn't it. But you push it down, because everybody else seems fine. So it must be just you, right? It's not just you. In the beginning of The Matrix, Neo feels it too. He can't explain it. He's got a job, a room, a life. But something inside him keeps whispering, wake up. And when you ignore that whisper for too long, it starts to ache. Then it starts to scream. That's not anxiety. That's not depression. That's the real you, trapped inside a system designed to keep you numb. The Matrix isn't science fiction. It's a documentary, a map of how the world actually works. Not out there, but in here, in your mind, in your patterns, in your programming. From the moment you were born, you've been told who to be, how to act, what's right, what's wrong. You were trained to be good, not free. You were taught to suppress, not to feel, to obey, not to question. And over time, you forgot who you really are. You became a version of yourself that others could handle, and they called that success. But deep down, you knew, this isn't living, this is surviving. Look at Neo again. His name, Thomas Anderson, Son of Man, the average human. But Neo is an anagram for one. Because when you start to wake up, you become the one in your story. Not because you're special, but because you're finally seeing, and seeing hurts. It means realizing most of your thoughts aren't yours. Most of your dreams were installed. Most of your guilt inherited. And most of your life has been a loop. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Pain is the price of waking up. It's not a mistake, it's a doorway. You feel empty not because something's missing, but because the system filled you with lies. And when those lies start to crack, it feels like you're breaking. But you're not breaking, you're breaking free. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your pain was never the problem. It was the signal. A quiet alarm inside you saying, it's time. Most people live their entire lives inside the Matrix and never even suspect it. They follow the script, get a job, pay their bills, chase goals that were handed to them by someone else. And when something feels wrong, they try to fix themselves instead of questioning the system. They think they're broken, but they're not. The system is. And it's designed to make you doubt your instincts, to keep you asleep. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcasts, you've done the journaling, you've said the affirmations, but nothing seems to touch the emptiness. That's because you're not dealing with your real wound. You're just decorating the prison walls. You were told to be more positive, to manifest harder, to raise your vibration. But deep inside, it still feels hollow, because no amount of good vibes can cancel the truth. The world you were trained to live in is fake. In The Matrix, Neo goes to work in a gray cubicle under fluorescent lights, surrounded by people who smile but never really look at each other. Everyone plays a role. Everyone does what's expected. That's not a dystopia. That's most offices today. He gets told what to do, when to do it, how to think, and when he steps out of line, the system punishes him, just like in real life. The moment you stop playing the game, people start calling you difficult, lazy, lost. But maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're just not willing to lie to yourself anymore. The system is brilliant. It doesn't need chains or prisons. It just convinces you that fitting in is survival, that you need approval to feel worthy, that you should be ashamed of your anger, your confusion, your fear. And the moment you start to wake up, it labels you mentally unstable. Not because you're sick, but because you're beginning to see what others are afraid to look at. Look at Agent Smith. He doesn't hate Neo. He hates humans. He says they're a virus. Why? Because they don't follow the code. Because they're unpredictable. Because they feel. That's exactly how this world treats your emotions. Like a threat. You get taught to shut up, smile, and keep working. Don't cry. Don't scream. Don't question. And slowly, you turn into a shadow of yourself. Efficient, polite, dead inside. But here's the part they never told you. It's not your fault. You did everything right. You followed every rule they gave you. You tried therapy, read the books, did the meditations. You were never lazy. You were lied to. And when the system couldn't control you, it convinced you that you were the problem. That's why the Matrix is so powerful. Because it's not just outside of you, it lives in your thoughts, your reactions, your beliefs. It's the voice that says, you're not enough. It's the guilt for wanting more. It's the shame for feeling angry. That voice isn't yours. It was installed, and it's time to question everything it ever said. So what happens when you finally start to see it? When the lies begin to crack and your vision clears just enough to glimpse the truth underneath. That's the moment everything starts to shake. Not because the world is falling apart, but because the world you thought was real never actually existed. The moment Neo takes the red pill, the illusion collapses. Not immediately, not all at once, but the moment he chooses truth over comfort, he begins to unravel the code. And that's when fear shows up. Doubt, resistance, a voice inside you that says, turn back, go back to what you know. It's safer there. But safer doesn't mean real. In The Matrix, once Neo wakes up, he doesn't become powerful right away. First, he's weak, disoriented, terrified. That's how real healing starts. Not with confidence, but with collapse. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You fall apart, and that's where the real work begins. If you're in that stage now, confused, angry, exhausted, you're not failing. You're awakening. And that's messy, because waking up means looking at your own shadow, the parts of you you've hidden, rejected, denied, the ones that were too much or not enough, the child who wasn't loved the way they needed, the teenager who had to toughen up too soon, the adult who still carries wounds they never asked for. All of that lives inside you, and the Matrix taught you to keep it buried. But you can't be free and fake at the same time. You can't keep playing roles and expect to feel whole. Neo had to stop being Thomas Anderson to become himself. Not a superhero, not a savior, just someone who finally saw what was real and chose to face it. That's the true red pill, facing your truth without flinching. There's a scene where Morpheus tells Neo, most people are not ready to be unplugged. And he's right. Most people will defend the system, even if it hurts them. Because the lie is familiar. Because truth demands change. That's why some people will watch this and scroll past, laugh, roll their eyes. They're not bad people. They're just not ready. But if you're still here, still listening, something in you is ready. Maybe not to break free completely, but to question, to pause, to feel. And that's where it starts. This is the part where I ask you to do something. Not for me, for the others like you, the ones searching in silence. If you feel this, if something in you is shifting, if you know deep down that this isn't just a video, it's a mirror, then subscribe to the channel. Not for content, for connection. So the algorithm shows this to someone else who's waking up, because truth spreads not through noise, but through resonance. Let's talk about the shadow, not as a metaphor, but as something very real living inside you. Carl Jung called it the dark side of the psyche, the parts of yourself you disowned to survive, the anger you weren't allowed to feel, the grief no one held space for, the envy, the shame, the fear, the desire, all buried so deep they became invisible. But invisible doesn't mean inactive. In fact, what you repress starts to run your life from the dark. That's the matrix. Not the world outside, but the one inside, programmed to keep you acceptable. In the Matrix, Neo enters a white room where Morpheus explains what the Matrix really is, a simulated reality built to blind you from the truth. That's what your personality does too. It simulates who you should be while hiding who you truly are. It's the reason you feel like an imposter even when you succeed. It's the reason you sabotage good things. It's the reason you smile while secretly falling apart. Your false self was created for approval, but the real you, the one underneath, is waiting to be reclaimed. Every time you silence your anger, you disconnect from your power. Every time you dismiss your sadness, you disconnect from your heart. Every time you betray your own truth just to fit in, you reinforce the matrix within. That's not weakness. That's survival programming. The child learned it to stay safe, but the adult is still running the same script. Until you see it, you repeat it. There's a moment in the Matrix when Neo trains inside the simulation. He starts to realize the rules aren't real. Gravity, speed, limitation, they're part of the code. And once he sees that, he can bend them. The same applies to your inner world. Most of what you think is just the way I am is actually conditioning. Patterns, trauma responses, internalized beliefs. When you bring awareness to them, not judgment, just awareness, they start to lose their grip. But here's the paradox. The more you try to kill your shadow, the stronger it gets. The goal isn't to destroy it, it's to integrate it, to look at the anger and say, I see you, to sit with the sadness without fixing it, to meet your own pain with presence, not punishment. That's when the matrix begins to weaken, not through force, but through truth. You don't escape by running. You escape by turning around and facing what you spent your whole life avoiding. That's what Neo does when he stops running from the agents. He turns, he stands, he chooses. And that's the moment everything shifts. So how do you actually begin to unplug? Not as an idea, but as a daily experience. It's not about changing your job or escaping society. It's about changing your relationship to truth. You start by noticing. Noticing when you're performing, when you're smiling just to be accepted, when you're saying yes but feeling no. That awareness, quiet, raw, sometimes painful, is the first cut in the code. And once you notice, you name. You say, this is me pretending. You don't judge it, you witness it. That's power. The matrix depends on your unconsciousness. It falls apart the moment you become conscious. In the Matrix, Neo doesn't break free all at once. There are layers. He fights, he fails, he doubts, he bleeds. The journey isn't linear. The first steps are often the hardest, not because they're physically difficult, but because they threaten the identity you've worn your whole life. When you begin to see your patterns, your people-pleasing, your self-betrayal, your avoidance, it hurts. It can feel like losing yourself. But that's because you never really knew who you were without the mask. The pain isn't the problem. The pain is the process. One practice: write without a filter. Sit with a page and let the truth spill out. Not the curated version. The real stuff. The thoughts you don't say out loud. The feelings you're ashamed of. Let them exist without editing. Another practice: notice what your body does in discomfort. Where does tension live? Where do you shut down? Trauma lives in the body, and until you reconnect with it, healing stays theoretical. Unplugging is not just mental. It's physical, emotional, spiritual. You were trained to numb yourself with work, with noise, with goals, with being nice. So starting to feel again will be overwhelming. That's normal. You don't need to do it all at once. Start small. Say no when you mean no. Cry when you need to. Sit in silence for 5 minutes and just breathe. Your nervous system doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be heard. And when you listen long enough, the signals become clear. There's a scene in The Matrix where Neo dies and then comes back. But this time, he sees the code. He doesn't just believe, he knows. That's the turning point. And in real life, it happens too. When you've felt enough pain to stop running. When you've seen enough truth to stop pretending. When you finally say, no more lies. Not to others. Not to myself. That's the moment you begin to bend the rules. Not of the world, but of your inner prison. Let's go deeper. Because at some point, you have to ask, how do you even know you're in the matrix? What are the signs? It's subtle. You don't wake up one day and see green code falling from the sky. It shows up in moments. You're constantly exhausted, but don't know why. You achieve your goals and feel nothing. You laugh in public, then feel empty in private. You look in the mirror and don't recognize who's staring back. You scroll for hours, but nothing really touches you. These aren't random symptoms. They are the signals of someone living inside a system that drains your soul while feeding your performance. The Matrix doesn't need you to be miserable. It just needs you to stay asleep. It keeps you comfortable, distracted, and just productive enough to never stop and ask, why am I doing any of this? If you're chasing money, validation, attention, and it never feels like enough, that's the trap. If you're afraid to slow down because you'll have to feel what's underneath, that's the trap. If you're surrounded by people but feel deeply alone, that's the trap. And the moment you see it, you can't unsee it. Now ask yourself, do you even want to get out? Because leaving the Matrix doesn't mean escaping to a cabin in the woods. It means losing your illusions, losing the comfort of lies. And not everyone is ready for that. Unplugging means grief. You grieve the self you pretended to be. You grieve the life you were told you wanted. But beyond that grief is something wild and raw and honest, something real. How do they keep you in the Matrix? Through fear, through guilt, through algorithms. You think social media is about connection. It's about control. Every scroll, every click, every like, it's data. Your pain, your habits, your insecurities, all tracked, all monetized, all used against you. They don't need to censor you. They just distract you, feed you what keeps you numb, outraged, or addicted. And most people never even realize it. Then there's the deeper control, the emotional matrix, schools that reward obedience over creativity, families that shame your feelings, cultures that praise silence over truth, systems that break your spirit, then sell you therapy to fix it. This is not accidental. This is design. Because the most dangerous thing in the world is a person who sees clearly and feels fully. So the Matrix teaches you not to feel, not to think too deeply, not to ask hard questions. So what do? First, turn down the noise. Unfollow accounts that feed fear, outrage, comparison. Limit consumption. Don't fill every silence with a screen. Sit with yourself even when it's uncomfortable. Second, question your reactions. When something triggers you, ask, is this really mine, or was it installed? Third, write. Daily, unfiltered, let your shadow speak. Fourth, move your body in ways that connect you, not just to sweat, but to sensation. Walk, stretch, breathe. Touch your chest when you feel anxious. Speak out loud when you feel shame. Fifth, build relationships that value truth over comfort. People who let you be messy. People who don't punish your pain. People who remind you of who you are when the Matrix gets loud. Sixth, protect your attention like your life depends on it, because it does. Every minute spent in passive consumption is a minute you're not building your own clarity. Choose depth over noise. Let's take it further. If you want to know who controls you, look at what you're not allowed to question. Why do you work the hours you do? Why is your worth tied to output? Why are you shamed for resting, or doubting, or changing direction? These aren't coincidences. The Matrix is powered by unquestioned habits, by people staying too busy, too tired, and too distracted to notice they've been turned into products. Start asking forbidden questions. Who profits from your self-hate? From your silence? From your fear of failure? When you believe you're not enough, you'll buy more, work harder, stay quiet. That's how the system feeds. Break the loop by knowing this. Your value is not in your performance. It's in your presence, your awareness, your ability to pause and say, I see what's happening, and I don't have to play along. Build your own code. Create rituals instead of routines. Replace numbing with noticing. Replace reacting with reflecting. You don't need to overthrow governments. Just reclaim your inner world. That's the revolution. People who are conscious, grounded, and connected are impossible to manipulate. So become that. Slowly, daily, truthfully. Freedom doesn't mean comfort. It means clarity. And that clarity starts the moment you stop outsourcing your power. Every scroll, every opinion, every narrative, filter it through your own awareness. Ask yourself, is this mine? Do I believe this? Or was I trained to? That question alone will unravel more of the Matrix than you think. And remember, you are not alone. There's a growing number of people who see what you see, feel what you feel, the ones who don't want to fake it anymore. Let's find each other. Let's speak truth louder than noise. Let's build something real. So again, if you feel this in your body, if it moves something old inside you, write in the comments, I accept my shadow. Let's see how many of us are done playing small. This is where we start, together. You didn't come here to fit in. You came here to wake up. Every choice now is a doorway. Every pause is a portal. Don't rush it, don't fake it. Just keep coming back to what's real. Your truth, your body, your breath. That's where the Matrix ends, and your life begins. And if you're still here, it means you were never really asleep, just waiting for the right moment to open your eyes fully. We're sure you've discovered plenty of value, so subscribe now and stay connected.